film about an island called Mafia, which lies in the Indian Ocean off the coast of Tanzania. I'm returning there for my 5th visit since the 1960s to do some more anthropological research. To get to Mafia, we take a 5-seater plane from the airport at Dar es Salaam and head towards the coast. Soon we are passing over the delta of the mighty Rufiji River, and then out to sea over numerous small islands. After about 40 minutes, we begin to see the long, low outline of Mafia, and then the airstrip at its capital, Kilindoni, where we land somewhat bumpily. Although Mafia may be relatively remote today, like other parts of the East Coast, it has an ancient history. The Swahili civilization, with the Islamic religion, writing, a literature, and stone buildings, has existed on the coast and islands for over 1,000 years. People traded up and down the coast and were linked with both the Persian Gulf and the wider Indian Ocean region. Before the British took over what was Tanganyika after the First World War, Mafia was ruled for a while by the Germans. They made their capital on Chole Island, which had already been colonized by Arabs coming from the Gulf. The ruins of these periods still remain, although much grown over by trees. Today, the district capital is on the main island at Kilindoni, where there are government offices, shops, and a lively market. In Kilindoni, I meet up with Mikidadi, whom I have known since he was 12 years old, on my first visit to Mafia in 1965. He now lives with his family in Dar, but has agreed to come back to the village with me to help with my research. We are to live in his late parents' old house. It's not easy getting around on Mafia. There is little public transport, and what there is does not always work. People mainly use bicycles or walk. We are lucky to get a lift in a government Land Rover, which takes us up the road running from south to north of the island. The road has supposedly been improved since my last visit.
Naona makoti hapa.
As we get up to the north, we pass through the fields which were cultivated last year and enter the village of Kanga through its southernmost part, Zuieni.
Zuieni.
In Kanga, we move into a house I know well, that of Mikidadi's family, which is next to the Koran school. Like most Swahili houses, ours has a front veranda and inside a central corridor with rooms leading off. We have a room each, and there is also a kitchen where we can boil water and an office. My bedroom is newly whitewashed with blue curtains, and I am given the family four-poster bed with mosquito net. Also living in our house is one of Mikidadi's nephews, commonly called Teacher. He has just finished secondary school and is trying to decide what to do next. So for a few weeks he helps out with jobs around the house.
Teacher, unafanya nini?
Nakosha vyombo. Nichemsha maji ya moto.
At the back of the house is a courtyard where we see Teacher doing some washing up.
Ili kupata maji ya uvugu.
Ndio.
Kidogo alafu nasafisha vyombo vyetu.
Wala, asante sana.
Off the courtyard is a bathroom, where the shower is a bucket and slosh, and there is also a latrine. Houses on Mafia are made entirely from local materials. Here, a young man is constructing his first house with the help of a builder and some friends. The builder explains how they first dig holes, then put in the poles, then add the roof, thatch it with coconut palm fronds, and finally fill in the walls with wattle and daub. Thatched roofs are cool, but they deteriorate after a few years in the intense downpours of the monsoon seasons, so they need regular repair. In this sequence, Teacher and another of Mikidadi's nephews are repairing the roof of his house.
Sasa hii yote unatengeneza au sehemu tu?
At the back of each house is a courtyard surrounded by a fence where cooking is carried out. Here a neighbor repairs his fence.
Ndio. Si hapa tutengeneze.
Household work on Mafia is very labor intensive and is done mainly by women. Each day rice has to be pounded before it can be cooked. Then it has to be winnowed to separate the rice from the chaff. Water has to be fetched from the well and firewood collected. In Kanga, people mainly live by cultivating food crops, growing coconuts as a cash crop, and fishing. At this time of year, the main agricultural task is getting in the rice harvest, a job done mainly by women. As one of the women in this group says, it's very hard work. Fishing is important both as a means of providing food and to sell fish for cash. It is done either in outrigger canoes or larger dhows called mashua. Both of these boats are made locally. Fishermen use either nets or lines and sometimes traps. They catch finfish, octopus and crustaceans like lobster. This dhow is being repaired on the beach of Bweni, the neighbouring village.
Sawa, na kisha pata unakwenda kuuza kwa kule Bweni kwa maboti. Sawa.
On a walk along the Kanga beach, we encountered two fishermen preparing their bait for a night's fishing. They explain that if they go far out at night, they tend to get a better catch, even though it's more dangerous than daytime fishing.
Kundi unakijua jina lake?
Vipi?
Jina lake Ogopa Jibu.
I am invited by a friend who is a fisherman to come on a trip with his group called Ogopa Jibu in their outrigger canoe. First the boat is made ready, then the nets are put in. Once we are all in the canoe, we head away from shore, and when the captain spies a suitable place, the nets are cast to form a circle. The younger members of the crew are sent into the water to drive the fish into the net. When we return to land, the men take the fish out of the boat and then put away their nets. They clean and fillet the fish and divide up the catch between themselves. Most of this catch will be sold in the village. There is also an old trade between the east coast of Africa and China for sea cucumbers, which are used in Chinese medicine. Chinese traders come to Mafia and buy the big sea cucumbers, which are collected by men for high prices. The smaller ones, collected on the shore by women, fetch much less money.
Hamna kitu.
In the villages of Mafia, some people make a living through trade. In Kanga, there are several shops of varying sizes.
Na mwenye duka mwenyewe yumo mle ndani. Habari zako bwana? Aha.
The first one we visit is one of the larger ones, selling food, clothes and school necessities, which the shopkeeper fetches from Dar es Salaam.
Maendeleo moja hai. Sivyo. Hatukupata mnyanya siku za nyuma. Haya, sasa twenzetu duka lingine. Duka la pili. Duka hili linaitwaje?
The second is a much smaller shop which has only recently opened. The young man who has set it up complains that times are hard and he hasn't been able to do as well as he would like.
Mambo magumu sana.
Mambo magumu.
Sana.
Sasa wewe hasa unauza nini?
Nauza mchele kitumbo, karanga zipo, sukari ipo, betu zipo, na mambo ndo hivyo, hajakaa fresh.
Haya basi nieleze hapa. Unafanya nini? Unafanya nini kazi ya?
A couple of youths have set up a stall in the village street selling coconuts, which are used for cooking.
Nazi yako mwenyewe au nazi ya watu?
Kazi yangu mwenyewe.
Hivyo?
Habari ni na ulipa. Hoteli? Hiyo hoteli.
In the neighbouring village of Bweni, a couple of women have started a tea shop on the beach, where they get plenty of custom from the fishermen. One of the women tells me they plan to construct a room for guests to stay. Kanga also has a couple of tea shops. One run by an ex-soldier who learned a bit of cooking in the army. He has a regular clientele of older men.
Vipi chai? Sukari inatosha?
Fresh. Kwa mimi ni fresh kwa.
Most men on the east coast wear embroidered caps called kofia. The fine needlework is done by men who have learned the art, and a well-made kofia can fetch a good price, although completing one takes a long time. This one is being made by the village chair. Women's main source of cash income comes from the making of raffia mats. Girls learn to plait the raffia strips from an early age. The strips are then dyed and sewn together, and the mats are exported for sale in Dar es Salaam. Each village has a primary school which goes from standards 1 to 7. This is Kanga's school, built since my last visit in 1994. It replaced the earlier building which had become dilapidated. I go with one of the village officers to see the school in Bweni. Here a new classroom is being constructed. As always, the bulk of the labour is provided by the villagers themselves, although materials come from government. In addition to the government schools, there are also a number of Koran schools or madrasa in each village, where the children come on weekends and during school holidays to study the Koran. Mikidadi is head of a Koran school founded by his father. It now has 2 classrooms, one for the smaller and one for the larger children.
Watoto wakubwa. Sawa.
Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala anasema enyi watu muabuduni Mola wenu.
Today only the girls are studying.
Nyinyi na wale walio kabla yenu ili mpate kuokoka ama kumwabudu.
Mmekwisha maliza kazi vijana? Bado, mbona
The boys are outside doing some practical work, building a secluded area for a new toilet.
Wewe Mwenyezi Mungu al-Muqaddimu wa tangu anta wewe al-Mutaakhiru wa mwisho. Sawa? Yeye wa mwanzo na yeye atakuwa mwisho.
Several evenings a week, a group of young men comes to the madrasa for advanced Quranic classes.
Nisamehe mimi maghfiratan mazambi yangu min indika yaliyotokana kwako. Warhamni na unirehemu mimi innaka hakika yako Mwenyezi Mungu anta wewe mwenye kurehemu.
Here, Mikidadi discusses with them the meaning of sin and lying.
Yani unafanyaje? Unaomba kabisa kwamba usifanye au unafanya kwamba yakija ukifanya maana yake yafutwe?
Each village has a clinic to provide medical care. The one in Kanga is newly built by the villagers themselves, replacing the somewhat dilapidated building I remember from my last trip. Across the road is another new building, the midwife's house. We are taken around by Dr. Combo, who shows us the drugs cupboard, the scales for weighing pregnant women, and the lab bench for testing samples. There are several patients this afternoon, both small boys brought by their fathers. The first needs an injection.
Sawa, inafaa. Ana kifua.
The second needs some cough medicine, which his mother collects from the dispensary. Meanwhile, the baby clinic has started, conducted by the health officer, who explains the procedure.
Sawa. Sasa huyu kisha pima.
Huyu bado hajapimwa. Anaandaliwa ili apimwe.
Tutampima sasa hivi.
Tunampima sasa hivi.
Hakulia.
He begins by weighing the babies to check their progress. Then he gives vaccinations for polio and TB. All children now receive a full range of vaccinations.
Hapendi hata kidogo maskini.
There are other forms of healing in the village too. Apart from herbal remedies, there are trance healing rituals where people gather to dance and wait for shamans to become possessed by spirits, a state in which it is thought they can help with healing. Of course, people on Mafia like to relax and enjoy themselves, as everywhere. Since my first visit in the 1960s, football has become increasingly popular with boys and men. Kanga now has 3 teams and holds regular matches with other villages. Today, their number 1 team, Nia Njema, or Good Intentions, is playing their neighbours and great rivals, Bweni. Kanga plays in green, and today, Good Intentions manages to win. Meanwhile, at the side of the pitch, a few girls who have been excused evening chores by their mothers enjoy a different kind of ball game. Another game is Bao, a complicated board game which is played widely in East Africa. Another source of great enjoyment is dancing. Dances are held at festivals and weddings. Unfortunately, during this visit, the village was in mourning because of several deaths, so I was not able to film any dances, but have used a few stills taken on earlier visits. This is the wedding of Juma Kombo Nyalimu and Swalehe Musa. For the bride, it's her first marriage, and as such a fairly grand affair. This bride is relatively well educated and has been trained as a laboratory technician. The groom has already been married once and divorced. He works in the village as a government official. Lots of people come to weddings and have to be fed, so the day before, women gather to pound sufficient rice to cook a feast. It's more fun doing a task like this in a group. The older women take on the lighter task of winnowing. We accost the father of the bride, who gives a cheerful wave. The bride's mother is very busy and can't think of anything to say right now. The men gather at the front of the bride's house on the veranda. A group of young men appears with the bride's new furniture. And, as always on these occasions, there's a last-minute job to be done. In this case, sewing up a new mat. Another group of young men brings the coconut logs which will be used to make stoves for cooking. At the back of the house, the cooking is in full swing. Boiling the rice, making the coconut milk, boiling the tamarind and fetching water. The groom arrives accompanied by his party and is taken inside, where plates of cooked rice have already been prepared. The young men who will serve the guests outside joke together while they are waiting.
Sawa sawa. Umeona? Unaona? Nani hawa? Hawa maharusi. Maharusi.
The rice continues to be served onto plates, and the male guests line up to wash their hands. Back inside the house, the bride sits in her bedroom, surrounded by her older female relatives. She is not supposed to do anything for herself today, so they feed her.
daima unakokuja. Unarudia tena kujiongoza mbele
The bride's gifts from the groom, clothes and jewellery, arrive brought by one of the groom's relatives. Mafia is a paradise for those who want beautiful beaches, snorkeling or scuba diving. It has 4 small hotels in the south of the island. One lies on the small island of Chole, just off the southeast of Mafia. Chole Island Hotel has treetop houses. It was set up to provide a resource for developing the local community and has been involved in developing carpentry workshops, women's groups, a hospital, a school and a kindergarten. Since my last visit in 1994, a new marine park has been set up in the south of the island with funding from the World Wildlife Fund. It aims to protect this wonderful environment and ensure that all activities, including fishing, which take place within it, are sustainable. Attached to the park is a special project to conserve turtles, run by Catherine Muir. Together with the local environmental committee, a competition for school children is held each year to promote environmental awareness. The heats of the competition take place at each primary school, and here the Environment Committee has come to Kanga to judge the children's paintings, songs and skits.
Kanga twaingia utamaduni kweli, nayo elimu ndiyo maendeleo. Kanga twaingia msikie vinanda, oh vinanda vyenye kusisimua. Kanga twaingia utamaduni kweli, nayo elimu ndiyo maendeleo. Kanga twaingia msikie vinanda, oh vinanda vyenye kusisimua.
Simama. Mikoko ni nini?
Mikoko ni mimea inazunguka bahari.
Inayozunguka?
There is also a quiz.
Hapa mikoko inazunguka.
Ndio kwa kando ya bahari.
Ni miti inayoota kando ya bahari. Haya, makofi mpigieni. Clara, unaona wanajua mazingira ya watoto.
Tupo katika kuangalia ni shule ngapi ambazo zimeshawasili katika uwanja huu.
Some weeks later, the finals are held in the district capital. All the teachers on the island and many of the primary school children attend. It is held in the main square in Kilindoni.
Wapo kwa ajili ya kutoa hukumu nani mshindi na nani si mshindi na nani amefanya vizuri kidogo.
Mazingira
The message of the songs and skits is always conservation of and respect for the environment, and especially the protection of turtles.
Mazingira ni vitu vyote vinavyotuzunguka. Jamani, sikilizeni ndugu wananchi.
Ndugu wasikilizaji, mimi Omari Hasani kutoka shule ya msingi Kifinge na umri wa miaka 12, darasa la 3A.
The chief guest today is the senior-most government official on the island, the district executive officer, who makes a short speech praising the children and their teachers.
Sasa sambamba na walimu mliofundisha hizi radio cassette, kuna wengine walimu hawana. Naomba radhi.
Kisha anateremka chini, filimbi anakabidhiwa, kwa maana kukabidhiwa seti nzima, filimbi na ngoma.
Each school is to receive a set of drums.
Seti yake ya ngoma anaichukua, anakwenda nayo.
The children have enjoyed this occasion immensely.
Tu ya vijana waliopo, lakini vijana wengi wameshindwa kuwepo leo. Lakini kama wangekuwepo basi ungeona pamejaa, kwa sababu wapo karibu 100 na kitu.
Time is up and we have to leave Mafia. There are lots of farewells to be said. First of all, to the madrasa children, who apologize for being a bit noisy during their break periods.
Lakini mimi nataka hivyo ni wakute wameendelea mbele zaidi.
I asked them to study well.
Wengine kule chuo kikuu, skule ya sekondari.
Mickey Daddy and I go for a last walk along the beach.
Kazi yetu ni nzuri sasa kwa sababu tumefikia ukingoni mwisho. Sasa kazi iliyobaki ni kuagana na watu.
Mickey Daddy and I take stock of what we have accomplished. He is pleased with our work, as am I.
Tunasema kwa heri na wao wanaonekana wanafurahi nafikiri kuja kwako na kuishi nao katika hali nzuri.
Sawa.
Mickey Daddy decides that he will travel back to Dar on the new ferry service which has just started. As there is no harbour on Mafia, passengers have to board a launch to be taken out to the steamer. As I have already bought my plane ticket, I fly back, this time on a slightly larger plane with 18 seats.
Wapi kuja sijui hapa
hospitali
wakafa kabisa. Kitu gani kile kuburi kila vile basi
kila basi ndio kwa heri
mafuta yao matumbo yao samaki na kitu nani